Everyone knows I'm a big fan of the restaurant stocks. A lot of them went IPO in 2014 and 2015 when it was kind of a restaurant IPO mania going on. Where are they now? And should I be paying any attention? I put together a couple charts here of restaurants reporting at the end of the week, so you can kind of see who's been succeeding and who has not. It's kind of been a mixed picture with some of these restaurant stocks, but I know some of you love them as much as I do, so let's check in and see which ones you might want to be watching this week. First one out is Habit. Now this is a burger chain based in California, and it has a pretty good track record of beating. Just those 3 misses since its 2014 IPO, so that's not too bad. And it is coming off a big beat last quarter, but the shares have just been down, 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 as you can see from the chart. They're still kind of overpriced for me here based on evaluation metrics, so I'm waiting for them to get even cheaper possibly, but we'll see. We'll see what a lot of these restaurant chains are going to say about labor costs. That's huge, and also commodities. Now, this is one of the smaller chains that I'm going to cover today. They only have about 220 restaurants in 11 states now, but if you're not as familiar with them, that's why, because they're on the small side. But on the burger side, this is one I'm going to be watching. Then we're going to get the big kahuna on the burger side, which is Shake Shack. I know a lot of you love this stock. It is off the lows now. It has a great track record of not missing here since its 2015 IPO, so that's great. But we'll see if it can hold this rally here. It's not a cheap stock either, so we'll see if that growth trajectory is still there. It's opening up a lot of new restaurants here in 2018, but to me, the story's always been with the same store growth, which has not been good. So just opening up new restaurants is not the same thing as your old ones performing well year over year. So that's something I'm going to be watching here, but they got the great track record, so people should be tuning in. Then Wingstop is kind of the opposite of Shake Shack, as you can see from the chart. Now, while both have never missed since their 2015 IPO, and they went IPO not that far apart from each other, and Wingstop kind of had a little difficulties that first year, but after that, shares have been off to the races because the growth story is here so far with this one. So investors really embracing the wings more than the burgers, it appears. So this is also one you're going to want to watch for the same store sales. And then we're going to move into slightly different area, Del Taco. This chart is probably the craziest out of all the ones for this week here. You can see they've coming off a miss last quarter, and they've missed quite a few times in there. But Del Taco, pretty decent sized chain with 560 restaurants. If you're not as familiar with them, it's obviously because they're not in a state where you're located. But this is definitely one on this taco side, on the Mexican restaurant side, that I'm going to be watching. And then we have Pollo Loco. This is California chain, also not in as many states, but they have been expanding. So if you're down in Texas, this is a good one to watch. You can see they're kind of iffy on the beat miss part, but I'm going to be watching their labor costs as well, because that has been somewhat of a factor. The minimum wage has been rising in their big market, which is still California. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on with this one. Are any of these value stocks? I've been covering them on the Value Investor podcast off and on over the last year or so, as you can see with some of these charts, because they've been in a decline. But so far, not many of the restaurant chains are true values. Looking at them more is still a growth story. Some of them are kind of in that no man's land too. They're neither values nor growth. That's not the place you want to be. But we'll see what they say this earnings quarter. With the economy this hot, people are spending and are eating out. But are they eating out at any of these chains? And what are those labor costs really doing? So these are all things you're going to want to be tuning in. Be sure to watch my Twitter feed, because I'll be tweeting out about a lot of the same-store sales with these chains and the others that are also reporting this week, including Yum and Yum China, and anybody else that I'm not covering on these. But we're getting a lot of the restaurants, and it's always an interesting group. Tells you a lot about the economy, so you're going to want to tune in. So I'll be covering these, plus everything else all earnings season long, because the restaurants aren't done yet. We're going to get more, and I'll be bringing you all the charts. So be sure to check them out on Zacks.com and also on YouTube.